Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, literature, like books, movies, video games, etc., are all embodiments of ideologies which are carried and spread throughout society. That is to say, that in order to have a plurality of thought, in order to have better content and innovation, it's in the interest of these authors and copyright holders to be able to actually support these particular things in order to perpetuate their ideologies and expand the worldview of their work, whether that be a literary universe or a video game. There are three outcomes that you get when doing so. A, you get a plurality of opinion and perspective, meaning quantitatively, if they support these ideas, people who create fan fiction will be more incentivized to continue doing it, and those on the fences or who are unsure might be rallied to be able to make it, and you have a more quantity of work, which leads to like better peer reviewing mechanisms to be able to explain and give comments about particular authors. You just have more ideas, and that's often better. More on that on my substantive. B is even amidst these different work, you're of course gonna have like dissent and opinion, just like how we have with anything in status quo. We think that this discourse is actually good because it creates engagement for these particular original work. Meaning someone who might have entered the universe because of fanfiction can actually now know more about the original work when they see what the basis was. Or on the contrary, right? Or the converse. Someone gets involved in the literature through the canon and is exposed to other forms of literature and work when they take a look at the fanfiction. That also improves the amount of participation and you get better content. C is ultimately just creating more better things for consumers, whether that be more of the original work that's written by the author because they got inspired or they picked up an idea from the fanfic, or more fanfic when they actually get inspired from the original work. What exactly does actively support look like, right? Actively support looks like a couple of things. A, participating in like fan base events and workshops and meeting these particular individuals. B, being able to comment and engage when someone asks them for, oh, what do you think about this character? What do you think about this rendition? C could even be going as far as saying the original author even becoming inspired from it, right? And taking into account portions from that particular movie or particular literature when they make a sequel or they make a movie or a book, depending on those particular things. Or even D, like giving compensation to recognize creators and awards to be able to make things happen. We recognize that creating work is very expensive and it's difficult, but we think that oftentimes creators primarily do this not just for money, but also be able to express themselves. And we think that in status quo, both of these forms can coexist, the original work and the fan fiction. But the problem we have in status quo is that oftentimes the canon or the original work is labeled as legit, and anything fanfiction is labeled not legit, and oftentimes they're second rate when compared to the original. So we think that when you actually compel authors and copyright holders to be able to support these particular idea, you're able to put them at a level playing field wherein they can respect each other. And there's no longer this unfair comparison between saying, oh, that's just fanfic, it's not as legit compared to the original. The beauty in this work is that in status quo, the fact that, some authors might support it, some authors don't support it, in status quo, you already have a plurality of ideologies. Similar to how City of Bones was inspired by Harry Potter, you have, I think, Twilight, which was also like inspired by another form of literature. And what more would it be better if authors and copyright holders actively supported it? So it's somewhat of a value judgment in terms of these people being able to forward their work. Before I move on, any POI, I'll take one from closing if they have one. If not, opening. Not necessarily, because in order to write that work, you also have to think of your own idea. You know, nothing is technically original, right? Like everything that is created is somehow inspired or drawn from somewhere. There might be more similarity compared to other things, but the fact that you get more renditions despite similarity doesn't promote like just copying, but it promotes like being inspired of something. Sure, some might have more similarity, but that's the point in which people can make that comparison, right? The fact that people can actually refer to City of Bones and say, oh, there are similar elements to that, allow people to look at Harry Potter, to be able to compare and contrast it, or just be able to enjoy both literature. I don't see why it's particularly harmful. I can take another one from the other team who didn't place it. Opening or whoever. Another POI? Anyone? 3, 2, 1. So why exactly is it in the interest of the author to actively support it? And how does this make the innovation of more work better? We think that the point in which people can actually maybe get a bit upset about certain things happening is precisely when you can challenge certain like structural limitations for those things. Think about Harry Potter with Dumbledore, wherein it started out in fan fiction that he was like gay, right? And later on, did we see in other movies and in other renditions of the book, there was some sort of a gravitation towards that. And that all happened despite J.K. Rowling kind of like traditionally being a bit more conservative and against those particular things. So, if authors in status quo were somewhat incentivized to like care more about it and support it, you're actually able to challenge maybe conservative or liberal perspectives which these authors might have a particular bias toward, given that we're all human and we all have different levels of emotional sensitivity. What do we tell you from opening government? We tell you that both exist right now in status quo, and if you want them to be able to complement and help each other, when you compare and contrast them, you're able to tap and incorporate the fan base to be involved and also still give throwback to the particular author who created this particular material. For all of these reasons, we're very proud to open this today. Here you go.